fired the most feared gun of World War II, but most never lived to tell the tale. The German 88mm cannon was more than just a weapon, it was a legend. But behind its power was tragedy, as the brave crews who manned it faced almost certain death. Here's where it all started. Germany wasn't even supposed to have a gun like this. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles slammed the door shut on their military ambitions. No thanks. No aircraft. No heavy artillery. On paper, they were crippled. But behind closed doors, a different story was unfolding. In secret factories and under fake company names, German engineers kept building, experimenting, and testing. Their eyes were fixed on the skies because the new bombers flying higher and faster were nearly untouchable. Traditional anti-aircraft guns couldn't even scratch them. That's when the concept of the super gun began taking shape, a high-velocity cannon that could reach impossible heights and tear through steel with terrifying precision. The result? The 8.8cm Flak 18. Its name came from Flugabwehrkanone, meaning air defense cannon. But soon, Flak would mean something else entirely, hell unleashed from the ground. And this is where German engineering truly flexed its muscle. The 88mm gun, the infamous 88, wasn't just a weapon, it was a work of art forged for destruction. Built for pinpoint accuracy, blistering power, and lightning-fast rotation, the 88 sat on a cruciform carriage that allowed it to swing and aim in any direction. It could tilt from -3 degrees to an insane 85 degrees, making it lethal not just to bombers screaming overhead, but also to tanks creeping across the battlefield. Weighing nearly 7 tons and operated by a 10-man crew, it was designed to move with the blitzkrieg, fast, flexible, and unforgiving. Each shot thundered with raw precision, tearing through steel and sky alike. German engineers had created a masterpiece of war, a gun so efficient it blurred the line between defense and offense. They had no idea it would become a symbol of both genius and tragedy. But here's where the brilliance turns dark. The men and women behind those massive guns paid the ultimate price. Early in the war, flak crews were made up of trained soldiers, disciplined, sharp, and battle-ready. But as Allied bombing intensified, the Luftwaffe began to run out of manpower. Old men, injured veterans, teenage boys, and even young women were thrown into service behind the cannons. By the middle of the war, more than 1.2 million people were part of Germany's anti-aircraft defense, almost half of the entire Luftwaffe. Their job? Stand beneath the sky, aim and fire, while bombs rained down on them. Every mission was a gamble with death. Fighter planes strafed them, bombs obliterated their positions, and yet they stayed, firing, until the very end. By 1945, the grim truth emerged. Nearly 90% of Germany's flak gunners never came back. Their courage became their curse. Before the world even realized what Germany was building, the 88 got its first taste of war in Spain. During the Spanish Civil War, it was deployed to support Franco's forces, and the results were terrifying. The 88mm shredded not just aircraft, but bunkers, armored vehicles, and even dug-in infantry. It wasn't supposed to do that, but it did, flawlessly. Commanders quickly realized they had something far beyond an anti-aircraft gun. It was a universal killer, a weapon that could dominate both sky and ground. That short, brutal campaign became the testing ground for the gun that would soon change warfare forever. When World War II erupted, Germany was already ahead of everyone else. They entered the conflict with over 2,688mm guns, more than double what Britain had in comparable firepower. But the engineers didn't stop there. The upgraded Flak 36 and Flak 37 came with smarter designs, multi-section barrels for quicker replacement, improved carriages for faster setup, and steel shields to give crews a fighting chance. Then came the real game changer, the centralized fire control system. Imagine this: an early mechanical computer linked to rangefinders and, later on, radar units. It calculated trajectories, distances, and fuse timing so multiple 80s could lock on to the same bomber at once. The result? A deadly synchronized wall of flak that turned the sky into a black storm of explosions. Allied pilots called it hell in the clouds. But as the war dragged on, the Allies developed radar jammers and evasive tactics. Accuracy dipped slightly, yet the psychological terror remained. Every time a bomber crew saw those black puffs of smoke bloom around them, they knew they were in the crosshairs of Germany's deadliest gun. This part still gives chills to anyone who studied World War II air combat. The 88mm gun fired shells at a blistering 2,700 feet per second, reaching bombers flying as high as 26,000 feet. That meant no Allied aircraft was truly safe. Each shell weighed nearly 10 kilograms, exploding mid-air into thousands of deadly fragments that could tear through aluminum, engines, or flesh in an instant. Early on, it took about 4,000 shells to bring down a single bomber, but by 1945, that number skyrocketed to 16,000, proof of how advanced Allied defenses had become. Still, the 88 remained a nightmare for pilots. They'd described the black puffs of flak bursting around them like walls of death in the sky. Each explosion was random, merciless, and deafening. Many bombers vanished in seconds, their crews never seen again. For airmen, seeing those black clouds meant one thing: you were flying straight into hell. And then came the twist that changed everything. In 1940, during the Battle of Arras, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel faced a wave of British tanks that his standard weapons couldn't stop. Desperate, he ordered his 88mm flak guns, originally built for shooting planes, to aim at the tanks. What happened next was pure devastation. The 80s punched clean through the thickest armor like paper. Within minutes, the British advance collapsed. From that moment on, the 88 wasn't just an anti-aircraft weapon, it was a tank killer. German engineers developed special armor-piercing rounds like the Peza GR39 and Peza GR40, capable of cutting through over 100 millimeters of armor. On the Eastern Front, when Soviet T-34s stormed the lines, the 88s became Germany's ultimate defense. Its success led to the gun's adaptation inside the Tiger I tank and later into the Elephant and Nashorn tank destroyers. The phrase Tiger's 88 became legendary. One shot, one kill. Allied tank crews feared it more than anything on the battlefield. The 88 had evolved from a skyward guardian to the deadliest ground weapon of the war. This is the part most people never hear about, the human cost behind those black clouds of flak. Every time the 80s opened fire, they revealed their position. And for the Allied bombers above, that made them priority targets. Flak crews, man, those folks basically camped out wherever they could. Some random field, the top of a crumbling factory, or hell, just a ditch scraped out the night before. Not exactly luxury digs. And when the bombers swung back around, they didn't mess around. The sky would light up with clusters of nasty little bombs made just to wipe those gun teams off the map before the main show even started. The people stuck on those guns, guys and gals, they kept fighting through bone-deep cold, zero sleep, and fear that gnawed at you non-stop. Imagine living with bombs shrieking down all around you, your own cannons roaring so loud your ears just gave up. Some lost their hearing for good, some cracked under the pressure, and, honestly, a lot of them never stood a damn chance. By late war, as Allied air dominance grew, the survival odds for a flak crew were abysmal. Historians estimate that half of all flak gunners were killed, and countless more were wounded or captured. They fought, knowing each shot could be their last. So picture this. German cities are getting absolutely pounded by Allied bombers. Fire everywhere, the whole deal. Hitler freaks out and, in classic over-the-top fashion, decides to build these things called Flak Towers. And when I say towers, I don't mean some rinky-dink little outpost. We're talking hulking concrete beasts, plopped right in the middle of Berlin, Hamburg, and Vienna. These things were basically fortresses on steroids. Walls as thick as a grown man is tall, like 3 meters of solid concrete. You could drop a 500-kilo bomb on them, and they'd just shrug it off. But for all their might, there were simply too few of them. The Allies came with thousands of planes. The towers could only shield small sections of the cities. Still, these structures became symbols of defiance, standing tall even as Germany crumbled around them. By the final months of 1945, they had turned into last-stand fortresses, where flak gunners, knowing the war was lost, kept firing until their guns fell silent. Even after decades, the 88 gun continues to permeate history as more than just cuts in human ingenuity and the awful human cost at its roots. The engineers had fashioned something near perfect, highly accurate, tremendously powerful, and highly versatile. Armies from all across the world would study its design, the associated fire control systems, and adaptability for at least 3 generations. Nevertheless, every advancement came with a thorn. The 88 was more than just a weapon. It was a paradox of brilliance and tragedy. It defined Germany's defenses, but also devoured its defenders. The young gunners who manned it fought against impossible odds, leaving behind a legacy written in steel, smoke, and sacrifice. Like, share, and subscribe for more.